Okay, good morning, everybody. Today is January 14th, 2021, and welcome to this week's VIN-dow with Robert Hollenshead. So, Bob, I'm going to kind of set you up with this one if you can take it from a couple of things I'm going to state that I've seen in the market. So I see that, number one, Vroom is launching their first Super Bowl ad this year, which I think it's out there so anybody can check it out. Just kind of Google it. And then I also read an article recently that when Carvana launched in the Atlanta region, its market share gain was at the loss of the smaller independent used car dealerships. And really, like the big guys like Carmax, it didn't really affect their position too much. So my question to you, and something maybe we can talk about today, are the digital dealers like Vroom and Carvana going to spell the end, cause the struggle of independents everywhere?
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Shawnee. It's an interesting pontification, right? In other words, nobody has the answer except I think the facts will bear themselves out. I got some interesting, when you brought that topic up earlier this morning, I thought about it for a second, and it's interesting. Number one, I didn't realize that Vroom's doing that. So when we launched the traded marketplace with Auto Trader, that was our first big ad. It was the Super Bowl, and it really did create a meltdown on the servers, the amount of activity we got, because obviously ours was the first instant cash offer in the market. I forget how many years ago it was. It's probably, I'm going to guess it was 13 or 15 years ago when that occurred. So hats off to them. I think they're going to get a tremendous boost off of that, right? A lot of activity. So, when you think about the doom of anything, you got two ways of looking at things, half empty and half full, right? So, sick people are always half full. Scared people are always half empty, right? In my estimation, this is the best time for car dealers to be in business while you have folks that are willing to spend, $1 million for 10 seconds on an ad to get the thing mixed up. You see what I'm saying? First of all, nobody really has the other than perceived hocus pocus down to a science. Let's just think about this for a second, right? Number one, it's scary when you're getting ready to go into a ring and fight like a monster, and you got to say that at the moment, Carvana's done an absolutely incredible job becoming the monster, because they spent tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars branding themselves, right? So their market cap this morning, I was just looking at my stock account, which we hold Carvana, we hold GM as well, but believe it or not, Carvana actually has the same market cap of the stalwart American company, General Motors. You follow me? When you put that in perspective, it's lunacy. So you could start getting your, Mike Spinks, Mike Tyson hat on, where Michael Spinks was beat before he got in the ring because he was pissing in his pants afraid of Mike Tyson. So Mike Tyson, blew on him. He fell over dead, right? So you could do that. That's the half-empty theory. I like Mike Spinks, so that's not a disrespectful comment to him, because he was a great guy and all the rest of it. But the fact is, you can look at it like that and have a panic attack, right? So you got to think about what they do that's phenomenal, and then why you wouldn't even be mildly afraid of it, and why you would actually leverage things that are perceptually better than what we've been doing all our lives, and then leverage software that enables you to get to a point where you're not only in a better competitive position, but I think actually they're doing the advertising for you. So when the consumer gets to you and your level of honesty, transparency, perception, presentation actually definitely overwhelms, like what you would call the Home Depot circumstance. Home Depot has things, but your local lumberyard has better things, and they have better service and all the rest of it. So it could be a stupid analogy, but I want to get into some of them details, right? So the scary thing, separate from the market cap and the will to, really dig into things, comes from, the fact that Carvana are not silly people. In other words, they started with Ugly Duckling. I remember it distinctly. Ugly Duckling was an ugly rental car company. These folks bought it. So their roots run all the way into the depths of, the last 30 years of the automotive business, right? So that's scary because they really do understand it. And then drive time. So they really do understand you're not selling cars, you're selling finance. But you're selling perception of cars that is finance. So the perception is when I look to see what we sell to drive time and what other people sell to drive time, they're not buying stupid, ugly, dopey cars. They're buying cars that look like cars. They might not be cars, but they definitely look like them. They look like a modern car. The miles could be bad. The Carfax could be bad, but they look like a car. So their model actually enables them to buy cars that are totally marketable. And again, they're not selling a car, they're selling wild finance. So these folks not only understand the roots, they understand the execution of how you're able to take an object, make it look desirable, and say, for instance, find a customer and jam him in the car, right? So that's scary. That's definitely frightening. And then when you look at what Carvana's doing. So, and I understand why car dealers, the fucking Carvana, the Vroom, but they're buying it. They ain't buying nothing. Let me just give you some facts that you can lean on. Not like brain farts and you saw them bit a couple times and all of a sudden you got to run for the hills. I think we might have talked about it one time before about, Carmax and Carvana are bidding on all the cars. Yeah, they are. And then, when they bid to them, just about to what they're worth. And beyond that, they stop bidding because you'll see in any given, we watch simulcast ad nauseum every day, tens of thousands of cars to understand different things in our analysis of our book. In other words, the book that buys cars, Galves. And that actually is the underpinnings of, let's call it, the transparency that's enabled through Accu-Trade. And because of that, we see things that somebody that is just trying to acquire cars might not necessarily pay attention to. And that is that all of these folks are bidding on cars that fall into a category. They're not outside a category. They're inside a category. And they stop bidding at the point where it becomes irrational. So you could point to two cars that somebody paid a G $12, $18 over MMR. That's possible. And it happens here and there, but it doesn't happen. It does not happen on a consistent basis. So theoretically, as we all know, if Carmax is bidding on the car, they touched the bitch. They touched it. So you don't have any fear of knowing whether it's a cat or dog, even if it's got a bad Carfax. The beautiful thing about knowing things like this is the discipline and the methodology of Carmax, pardon me, Freudian slip. In other words, of Carmax is we know that they've trained people to do things in a certain way that's better than any entity, any individual in the history of the car business. Take a college graduate, pay them minimum money, teach them methodology, and then go set them loose. And for that reason, we know when they're bidding on a car, they're not paying too much. And if you pay 50 or 100 or 200 more, you did not overpay for that car in the open market. That's a fact. That's not speculative nonsense. You can't point to a situation where they lock up on somebody and start paying 2-3G over because it's some special car. It's not happening. Okay. So now when we watch what Carvana's doing, it's kind of similar, and they will bid on, thousands of cars. But last week, if we sold 550 cars, they bought 6. That's not scary. That's less than 1% or something like 1%. They might have bid on 300 or 250 or whatever the number was, right? I could probably should have looked at it so it's statistically accurate. And we watch this happen in solid markets around the country to see the exact same thing. Now, if you're a guy that's sitting there doing your little silly proxy bid list and do their mechanical whatever, you're not going to pay too much because you got to sell it for less than the guy next door and all that nonsense, right? In other words, then you're putting your 1,000 proxy bids in to buy 4 cars, right? Now, you could say, well, Jesus Christ, they knocked me off that one. But why is that? Well, because you put your proxy in at $9 or $12 or $15 under, and then you found a white one with gear and you put it in at 400 over, and next thing you know, you got knocked off that car too, didn't you? And now all of a sudden your perception is that, Jesus Christ, these guys are going to put us out of business. No, I don't think so. Now take it to step 2, and I respect these people immensely. They took Manheim's platform with Manheim Express. The only people selling on there actually is, doing it consistently over the past year, doing a great job doing it. We want to buy your car. We'll go and pick it up. We'll give you a check. Great. What are you doing with the cars? Well, it's a piece of junk. Bring it in. What are you putting it on there? And what are you doing next? You're going to say it's absolute. So the brilliance of what they're doing is it's sold even when it's not sold ahead of time, because everybody then knows it's sold. You're not wasting your time. You're not participating in bidder fatigue. You dig it? Something that no auction understands, because they never bought and sold nothing. The vast majority of car dealers don't understand. They participate but don't think about why you use certain sources of cars. And there, as a seller, if you understand, if you start no selling cars, you've shot yourself directly in both eyeballs. You're done. You're finished. It's over. It's nothing to talk about. So, a lot of different things come to presentation, perception, and execution, right? And what I mean by that is, if you're going to actually go use a marketplace, now they're able to do it because they do understand when you ask too little. Shawnee, how much do you get when you ask too little? Sean, are you there? Oh, you get too much. So I've been saying that consistently for 40 years. When you ask too little, you get too much. And when you ask too much, Shawnee, me boy, how much do you get? You get gatsalagool. You get nothing. You understand that? Now, as a seller, you can't ask too little because, Jesus, I can't sell it for that price. Well, that means that the participant would never participate, because he ain't got no shot at buying it for what it's worth. But when multiple participants know that you're going to sell them no matter what happens is you ask too little, and then you get market value, which perceptually could be too much. You dig? Now, Carvana is doing that on, what do you call it? Whatever they're doing. They're calling it some sort of marketplace with Manheim Express. Brilliant, as far as I'm concerned. And of course, they're saying that their average profit is boom, and it's getting to be something similar to whatever the average profit of Carmax at auctions is. Boom. So if Carmax is $11, let's say these folks are getting to something, sneaking up on something in between, whatever that is. Now, what that means is tremendous opportunity for a car dealer, because what they don't do is levitate the car. They don't have the capacity to levitate a car. What do I mean by levitate a car? You got to picture it for a second, right? If you have, and most successful car dealers understand exactly what I'm going to explain. You take a car that's filthy dirty, it's got a thing on market, and a thing, and a hubcap's off, and you take 13 seconds to walk around that bitch and pick this, do this, you've levitated it. You took it from the level where that car came into the market. People were disgusted, they hated it, or they just want to get another one. So they're not cleaning it. Did you ever watch somebody detail a car before they traded it? If they did, it's only because they want you not to realize the fact it's got frame damage. You follow me? So it doesn't happen. 9,000 out of one case in 9,000, somebody might do that, right? Very unlikely. What they do, however, is leave their dirty diapers and all the other bullshit in the car, and now that car's worth a lot less. Why is that? It's about perception, because everybody, wholesale and retail, buys through their eyeballs. I couldn't care less what anybody says. It makes no difference whatsoever. If I'm not right about anything else in the world, I'm right about that. You buy through your eyeballs. Now, that's not just the car. It's also a dealer's lot. It's perception. You got to picture yourself. You're a consumer. You never stopped into that lot, but you drove by so many times, and it always looks so fresh and clean. Your approach avoidance is less when you finally put something out on the 45-degree angle of the point of that dealership, where all of a sudden the brakes are squealing and they're pulling in, because it's a cumulative, consistent presentation. Buying through the eyeballs. That's before you get to the price. And now when you get to the car and that bitch is levitated, you follow me? I got off track a little bit, only because I believe, and I don't believe it, I'm watching it happen, dealers that actually are participating in the Carvana Monday sale, whatever day they're doing it today, right, that bring those cars home and levitate them, do X, Y, and Z. I'm not talking about put it in a shop and spend $800 redoing a fender that you can do for $62 because you pissed in a corner. You understand? I'm talking about levitating like a car dealer's supposed to do. Bring it to the next level. If you can get it to the second level, that car's worth dramatically more money than in the position that you bought the sucker in. You see what I'm saying? Now, question is, consistently? Can you do it every single time on every single car? That's the reason why when you got your buyer's hat on, you have to think about, what is my next move? How am I exiting this car if I don't sell it retail? You got to think about that, because that's where the welding machine pops out. You can wind up being the fanciest buyer in the fanciest car, and you bought whatever it is, and if you bring that bitch back and it don't disappear, you have actually gotten that frame and that unibody or not welded to your ass. In other words, you ain't getting out. So you got to maintain the concept of what's left to levitate. Think about it. You're flipping houses. Are you flipping the one that was just renovated and the gardens are all done? No, of course not. You're flipping the one that actually is the lowest price in the neighborhood. You know how to do the windows and did the thing. And the next thing you know, there's a driveway. It's beautiful. Boom. You created levitation. It's worth more money, right? So think about this. These folks ain't levitating nothing in their marketplace. They're bringing them in. They're putting them in a market. They're asking fair money, which is less than it's worth, and actually getting more money, which is bidder fatigue, letting everyone know this bitch is sold prior to it being sold, but it really is sold. And that sitting on the edge of the razor blade, if they get caught, they're going to sell it. They could take a little hit, and by the chance that they don't get caught, when you ask too little, you got too much. Next thing you know, you threw 700 piles of mud against the wall, and 610 of them came out on the right side of it. You ate up the other 80 or 90 with the ones that actually got in the wind to the best end user, because you asked too little to get too much. That's got nothing to do with surviving the, let's call it this onslaught of the perception that all car dealers are in trouble because these folks advertise a lot on TV. Let's take it to one other step. Everybody on this thing and anybody that listens to it, at first, we appreciate you being here. It's fun. But in the meantime, let's think about this for 1 second. You want to? Good. Take a look at Yelp or whatever you want to call it, the reviews of Carvana. You follow me? Just go to your thing, look at the reviews, and there's more ones there than I've ever seen in my life, right? I've never seen any business that remains in business with more ones, whatever you want to call it, 1-star ratings than anything I've ever seen, right? If you had those same ratings, there would be, I'm going to guess, 4,000 suicides this morning. If you had those ratings, first, if you were working at a dealership and you were the manager of the dealership and your ratings came back like that, you would definitely be looking for a job, because nobody would keep you there. You're done. You're finished. It's over. Nothing to talk about. Have a nice day. Get your shit out of the desk. The building just got tilted. Everything on the inside's got to go. You follow that? And as a result, it's not all rosy. You dig it? Now, the fact that you turn on the television on 400 different channels at any location across the United States, no matter what time of the day it is, you got an ad on there. It's a beautiful ad. They did a phenomenal ad. The website's spectacular. The process is unbelievable. But the net result leaves a little bit to be desired, because not everybody could give a 1-star. If it was the euphoria that, let's call it the Mike Tyson effect, could be delivering to a car dealer, right? You give up before you get in the ring because you're peeing in your underwear, you're going to get your ass kicked. And I say, no. Now, I think it's the opposite. I personally think they, just like Carmax deserves an award for being the best employment provider in the industry ever. It's not even close. The best people you can hire at a dealership are folks that were trained at Carmax, because they can follow orders. They understand certain things. They do what they're told. They're happy to be there. They show up dressed like they're supposed to be there. All the rest of it, right? All the habits are correct, right? So Carmax is absolutely, without any question or doubt, never going to be beat in that regard. Hats off, all the way off. And Carvana, in terms of spending other people's money to first understanding the business and really having a clear plan, like a phenomenal clear plan of what we're going to do, heads down, take all the insults, like whatever it takes, and follow through on what you know about the car business, because don't think for a second they don't know what they're doing, because that means you really have been smoking crack cocaine. You follow me? These people are as smart as anybody that's ever been in the business. Period. End of the story. Ain't no up. This is not for debatable. But that don't mean that it's time to do the Mike Tyson effect and just pee your pants and fall over. You follow me? I think it's the opposite. I think it creates tremendous opportunities all the way through to, how did General Motors go out of business in the 80s? Well, it's because they had a 12,000-mile warranty, and if you were 12,001 miles, they tell you to go shit in your hat. Your car's broke. It's your problem. And Toyota was sitting right there behind them selling rusted out boxes when they were brand new. They rusted out right on the frame. They rusted where they were sitting. But if the car came in with 13 or 14,000 miles, they said, absolutely, sir, we'll fix your car. Not a problem at all. When them cars were absolute tin can trash. Horrible cars, but got tremendous ratings because they took care of people consistently. You see what I'm saying to you? So when you stop and think about this now, right? Considering what other people who created CSI, Toyota did. So good thing to follow. In other words, what they do is make sure the customer's happy. Who else did that? Well, Amazon did, right? Well, Amazon learned that from Toyota. Toyota didn't learn that from Amazon. You follow me? Customer is definitely the one that we got to worry about. Nobody else. Everybody else don't matter, because if you ain't got a customer, you're out of business. It's kind of like what I'd love to see the auction industry do and start to realize that a car dealer is the only customer they got, and they can't keep on knocking the balls off everybody every time you go to use the toilet that you're charging you $750. It's no good. It won't last. Therefore, alternatives will pop up that will dig in deep into their model. Sorry, I got off topic. But it's the same situation here. So if you're a little dealer, a big dealer, if you're a little dealer, I see Carvana as a tremendous opportunity to buy cars. Just like the Carmax auctions have always been a great opportunity for somebody to go and know, touch, feel, look. So, and why would you go to a Carmax auction? Because everyone's sold. What if 1,100 people get in our lane on a Friday or in John Wolf's lane on a Wednesday? Why is there so many people there? Because every car is getting sold. Every car is getting sold. Nobody's wasting nobody's time. You see? In other words, why is it then that now Carvana, in conjunction with Manheim, brilliant maneuver. This is not in any way to be taken as an insult. I sincerely believe what I'm saying. Brilliant maneuver, because now they're listing. It was in the beginning of the year, they had 1,000 or 2,000. Now there's 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. But they're all disappearing. And if you go there, you're going to be able to buy a car. You're not going to waste your time, right? That methodology, I think, puts them in a position where, once again, they're not shocking anybody. They know what they're doing in the automotive space, right? Now, what does that do to create, let's call it the theory that a car dealer is not going to be, let's say, squashed by these entities, but actually opens up more opportunity to have access to inventory and have access to customers that might have had a bad experience. Not all of those ones on the Yelp or whatever you want to call it, the rate your experience with these folks, they're not all going back there. That means they're going somewhere. They ain't walking. Follow me? They're coming to someplace else. And that's the reason why I believe what we have created an alternative that actually enables transparency when you're looking at a car. In other words, you vindicate a car, you see everything, you see where it's been, you see how long it's been there, how much they were asking for it, how much the insurance is on that car. What that really means is how much you could actually sell that bitch for this second. And then how much that car is actually worth in a broader market. When you do arbitrage the car, how much would you anticipate that it would bring based on X, Y, and Z? You follow me? Effects, equipment, color, damage, previous damage, all of the rest of it. All of a sudden, you're digging a little deeper. When you think about what that does, it creates the banter that has always been, I think, thousands of dealers miss when you're at an auction talking the other day. See what I bought, see what I paid, see, well, I think I stole this one. I paid too much for that one, right? It enables that banter by using the tool, because you're actually already getting an opinion, not only opinion, a guarantee of how much that car is worth. But because we're not the best end user, we happen to be, let's call it the insurance, to enable you to know that's a baseline, that if you're going to be the best end user, you can pay more. And this is the reason why. This is how many there are. This is how fast they sell. This is all due, and how this one relates to the rest of the marketplace. Does that mean you need to sell it to the worst one? Of course not. If you got the best one our suggested price that you would retail it for can be thousands more than the price of some other raggedy ass, worn out, bad Carfax, empty ass ex rental car to retail for. Now, why is that important? It's not to dictate to anybody. That's what you should be asking. It's the suggestion instantaneously for you to make a better decision, knowing where it's been, knowing the other guy had it in stock for 123 days and he couldn't sell it. You're so much smarter than he is. You will be able to sell it, and you'll be able to ask 2,000 or 3,000 more. See, I'm suggesting take a second look. Use your brain one last little second to think about that. Is this an inept person that had it for sale? If it is, and they're in the middle of Easter BIP and they don't know anything, maybe you'll be the lucky guy that can get $3,000 more for that exact same car with the exact same miles, right? All of these things are whispers that we've enabled anybody using our little tool set to actually leverage. You see what I'm saying? It's not well, if you do this, you're stupid. No. I see what that car brought. It brought 3,000 more than what they said it would bring at the auction. It's possible. But you know what happens? A good one, something that has some desirability, it can bring irrationally more because it has, let's call it, a better end use case for more individuals. And what does that do when gold is selling today for $1,625 and tomorrow morning at $1,720? It means that the general marketplace has dictated that particular commodity in this particular market, for all the socioeconomic situations, it's worth more. Therefore, people are willing more. You know what else it means? You can duplicate that. So theoretically, when these anomalies occur, what does it do to help us understand when something similar occurs or comes into the market, to not be surprised by something that brings a moonshot or something that brings no bid whatsoever, even though rationally, it's got to be worth that. You ever hear that statement? It's got to be worth that. I saw one. Yeah, it's got to be worth that, but don't necessarily got to be worth that, because if you got something that don't have any kind of desirability, there's a reason why there ain't nobody else chasing it. You see, the beauty of the ask too little to get too much theory, right? Not theory, but the practice of ask too little to get too much, it reveals exactly what we're talking about. It reveals that X rental car was an Avis car 2 years ago. It's got 29,000 miles. Because since then, whoever bought it from Avis never sold it. It's bounced from dealer to dealer, auction to auction. It's still an ex-Avis car. You dig it? It ain't never going to pop wings and turn into a levitating, beautiful unit. It ain't never going to happen. Therefore, until it falls into a different category. Now it's so old and so cheap, it has really low miles, and somebody's, I like that low mileage X rental car that never found a garage. It's been bouncing from dealer to dealer over the last 3 years. You follow me? Once again, these are nuancical issues that every single time you VIN-decode a car, you can use it on any platform. These things are revealed. So is it a one-to-one every time you do it, something pops out and it can save you 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000? No, not necessarily. But I guarantee if you're using it consistently for all different reasons, you follow me? All the way through to what we're finding is dealers that use it on their website to value their trade are getting tremendous uptick in terms of conversion of, let's call it a good CSI score, because you didn't have one of these ones ratings because, well, it sounded like a great idea. Carvana is going to drop off the car and they didn't get here and it didn't do it and they did that. See, the fear of that to me, I have utterly no question. Right now is a idyllic time for a dealer with a brain that's not just like going along with the wind, doing what they used to do in order to survive, but using your brain and using helpful software to enable what I call a Carvana Ask Experience. Price up front. It's no problem. We'll definitely price it. Use the tool. You can price it up front in 2 seconds. When they get there, it's got a fart in the trunk. It's no problem. Just memorialize the fart in the trunk. And it says minus 375 fart in trunk. Now, the customer can't deny that, but the experience hasn't been marginalized in any way, shape, or form. You follow me? Now, once you've plugged in your OBD and it tells you this, this, and this, and now you know whether you're going to keep the car for wholesale or keep the car for retail or you're going to wholesale it, that happens instantaneously. These are things that, as we bring them to the market, all dealers can find very useful, easy to use. We build everything to be a lowest common denominator user case, a 2, never 11, never 17, a 2. In other words, where you get the information necessary to enable a communication, knowledge, decision-making in a matter of seconds. To be, I would call it, more informed. I'm not saying we're right and everybody else is wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying to be more informed, as if you're talking to a professional and asking them certain questions about any car, no matter what it is, a new Rolls Royce or a junk-blown motor Caravan. You're getting an opinion that's insured to help you make decisions. And I think if you think about that for a second, it kind of gets you to the point where maybe it's not the full thing where you're getting finance and everybody knows what their payment is from Carvana, but you're really getting to a point where you have a different level of, I would call it, knowledge, and then the ability to transmit that knowledge to transparency or perceived transparency to your customer. Does that make any sense to you, Shawnee, me boy?
Bob, I think you reframe the whole how I was thinking about it wonderfully. That's phenomenal. You let those guys do the work for you. They're bidding on the cars that they're going to buy inside their category. And
Shawnee, I didn't finish that. Watch tomorrow. If we got 600 cars going to the block tomorrow, you're going to see Carvana banging away. And God bless them. I love it and I appreciate it and all the rest of it, right? Vroom be right there. Carmax even but Carmax going to be in a lane, so you don't know when they're really bidding. But I guarantee you, when a hammer comes down, you see Carmax 67 times tomorrow, you'll understand what happened. And when you actually examine that car, they didn't pay too much. I want to sell them 100 cars tomorrow. I really do, but I really hope I don't sell them any, because that means we got market value and they weren't picking our pockets on the cars that didn't bring enough money. I can only tell you, this is not in any way, shape, or form a horseshit story. You follow me? It's an absolute fact. You follow me? These folks ain't paying over market value for nothing. You can feel that way because you get frustrated, Mr. Proxy Bidder. You follow me? Or Mr. I'm standing there trying to bid and they're bidding and you're already pissed off but they're only bidding to the point where the car's worth that much money. It ain't worth less than that. You see that? I didn't mean to interrupt you, Sean, but it's really something that would take 2 or 3 hours to dissect and watch to demonstrate. So hopefully we're going to get these little knucklehead calls to the point where we'll be able to demonstrate them. Unfortunately, Thursday's a bad day to do it because there ain't no good auctions on a Thursday where you can actually watch it happening. You dig it? A Wednesday's a great day. A Friday's a decent day, but we're a little busy on a Friday. So a Tuesday, you could even do it in an Orlando or a Baltimore or a whatever, right? Where you could actually do a call and actually demonstrate what we're talking about. And what that really does is, fear is all about lack of knowledge, right? When you're afraid of something, when you actually get to know what it is, you might not even be afraid to go banging with them. You follow me? The fear is, Jesus Christ, look how big they are. Look what they do. I'm shitting in my pants. I'm saying, nah, I ain't got no fear of that. I swear to God I don't. And I don't think any dealer, when they really examine it, need to have any kind of fear at all. All you have to do is get up early, go to bed late, work your balls off in between, and do what you're supposed to do. You see what I'm saying to you? I don't really see this as there's not going to be any more car dealers someday because they said that on an ad somewhere. No, I think it's the opposite, Mo. They're going to do good. That don't mean we're not going to do any better. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Shawnee.
No, wonderful. And a great way to end it. Thank you, Bob.
Have fun, everybody.